let's move on to Australia against France. That's a matchup we're looking forward to. Lisa, Sam Kerr is back. That has to be the headliner here.
Sam Kerr is back for Australia. She played 10 minutes in their last match. She came on at the end of the game. However, Australia has already found their attacking fluidity with the players that they've had. They've started the same starting lineup their last two matches. Caitlin Ford on the left side has been lethal up and down. Rosso on the right. Mary Fowler and Emily Van Egmond up top have been able to float and create space. And they've done all of that, made it to this quarterfinal without Kerr. Adding Kerr back into this rotation for Australia is really good for this squad. I don't think she starts at all against France. She's only coming off 10 minutes played after her calf injury. She will get time. And Kerr is a weapon off the bench. If Australia is leading, that's just more hammering the nail on the head once she comes into the match. And if Australia is down, it is a lethal spark plug off the bench.
She's in the perfect position. And I think the way that Australia has performed has allowed them to rest her when she really needed it. So the fact that they got 10 minutes from her, I think says that she's in a really good place. But when you're playing against this France squad, you can't start Kerr. If it wasn't going as well for Australia, I would understand, hey, can we press her in the beginning? Can we use Kerr to try to get an early goal? But this is going to be a tight match with the potential of penalties or extra time and penalties. You want Sam Kerr in those situations. And maybe from what you've seen right now, I think Tony Gustafsson is feeling very confident that his team potentially doesn't have to get there, but you need to utilize her time the best way possible.
You mentioned that French side. Let's go ahead and give you a little bit of information about them. So Hervé Renard has stepped in following the dismissal of Corinne Diacre after the lengthy battle between the players and the federation, who they accused of having toxic behavior. This is the second World Cup for Hervé Renard in the span of 7 months. Okay, so he most recently was the head coach for Saudi Arabia in the Qatar World Cup, and then he came over to be the French women's national team head coach. Goodness. Such a wonderful story. You know, we saw him during the Men's World Cup as like the best dressed manager. And obviously that Saudi Arabia team then ends up beating the eventual winners in Argentina. So we were excited to see him move over to the women's game and for the French team to have a coach that they wanted. They were very excited to have this after all of the drama that they suffered with the federation. In saying that, Darian, I know that you have a player on the French team that you wanted to highlight.
I've got a couple. I think this French squad has action. They looked so good in their last match. And I think you're right, with the new coach, I feel that they have some freedom and they're having fun when they're playing. You can really feel it and see it. And Karchaoui, I think, she's playing left back, which is kind of an unsuspecting position to call out, but I think she runs the show. She's buzzing around. She's the Energizer bunny. She gets all of the assists. She builds up through that left side, and she's in the middle. She's on the front line. She's making through runs. And I think she sets everyone else up around her for success. And she's been a really big focal point for this French squad for a long time, and I think we're finally seeing her get credit. And another player who she's been setting up, Lucemer. She's been on fire. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because you kind of forget about her in spaces of the game, but you can't sleep on her because then when the ball's around the 18, boom, she's there to finish it. With any type of surface, she maintains possession well. And I think that they're going to lead this French squad and make this a really interesting game. I almost said a win, but I'm not going to say that. I don't know. I almost said it.
Well, it kind of goes to what Jenny was saying. When Renard came in, this is a very positional play-oriented French squad. Mm-hmm. And when you have that type of positional play, you see outside backs playing centrally. You see them on the front line. Bacha, sometimes their left winger, is on the right side as a right wing. A winger or forward. Les Omer comes centrally and allows Diani to get in beyond. They read the game so well, and it's impressive to me because it's 4 months under Renard. It speaks to the intelligence of these players, their ability to take in information and be able to execute it on the field. Those first 25 minutes against Morocco, I saw some of the best patterns of play that I have ever seen in the channels. Their connection in that positional play is something to watch. It's going to give Australia some issues, but I do think a lot is going to depend on Gori and Cooney Cross and their organization centrally for this Australian squad to mitigate some of those spaces for France.
These two sides, Australia and France, played right before the World Cup started. As soon as France got to Australia. That was the pre-World Cup match. Australia winning 1-0. However, France in that game was playing 4-4-2. Now they're playing a 4-3-3. So that's also going to shake up the midfield and how these two sides go against each other in this match. It's going to be physical. You can mark my words on that one. It'll be a very physical match between these two sides.